My name is Meera Clark, and I serve as both an investor and an advisor here within Morgan Stanley's Multicultural Innovation Lab. We are incredibly excited to be telling you a little bit about our program today, and to give you a general overview of, one, what we've built in the lab, and two, how we can help you continue to expand the amazing businesses that you all are building worldwide. So as Hannah mentioned, we will be beginning today's session with an overview of our platform and offerings, before then diving in on our actual application process and addressing those questions, both submitted before the call and those that come in during today's session. Understanding that we are sharing in a lot of detail over the course of the next hour, would love to refer everyone to our website, which can be found at www.morganstanley.com/MCIL, which does include both additional information on our program, as well as a link to our application, which is run on the F-Success platform. So with that foundation set, would love to dive in. So by way of background, the Multicultural Innovation Lab is an accelerator program within Morgan Stanley for technology and technology-enabled startups. We define technology-enabled quite broadly in order to account for as wide an array of businesses as possible. So for us, this generally means leveraging technology, whether it be hardware, software solution, or consumer-facing website to deliver value to customers. And for context on this front, in the past, we've invested in businesses ranging from enterprise software solutions to consumer healthcare applications to beauty services marketplaces, and really without any seated preference across these subsectors. One other classification that we do target is our demographic focus. So here in the lab, we target companies with either a woman or a multicultural founder, co-founder, or C-suite officer. So that you all are aware, these represent demographics for us that we feel are underserved by the traditional venture community, and as a result are areas that we view as right for investment, just given the attractive returns that we believe they present. So whether it be through our podcast, which is co-hosted by our group head, Carla Harris, the vice chairman here at Morgan Stanley, or through the written content on our website, which you can all feel free to browse through, we are very committed to highlighting this thesis and feel strongly in our conviction about this opportunity set. To date, we have made 14 investments over the past 2 years as part of our early stage efforts within the lab, and are really looking to kind of continue investing as we move forward to 2019. So moving on, as we screen for companies where we can make a meaningful impact, we do target earlier stage companies. We generally think of this as pre-seed to Series A companies that have both a product and a business model in place. So in assessing these factors at a high level, we look for some indication of product market fit, whether that be revenue metrics, engagement stats, or any company-specific key performance indicators. Again, we are really here to help you. So we're looking for companies where we feel that, given kind of Morgan Stanley's scope, we can make a meaningful difference. So upon selecting a class that meets the kind of our qualifications, we do look to drive meaningful growth by combining 3 key variables, which we think of as capital, content, and connections. So on the capital front, we invest $200,000 in equity in each of our portfolio companies each year. Given the material non-cash contributions associated with our program, which I will discuss shortly, we do view this investment as valuation agnostic. Again, here really looking to be as founder friendly as possible. So moving on to the content side of what we offer our founders, we deliver tools that we believe you need to scale your businesses through 6 months of targeted curriculum hosted at our offices here in New York City. So as part of your participation in our curriculum program, you do also receive office space here in our lab's headquarters, which will provide workspace for both you and your team through the end of 2019. Diving a bit deeper on our actual curriculum offerings, we break down our program into 3 fairly distinct phases. We start out with introductions and fundamentals. Roughly 2 months into that, we move on to business strategy, where we highlight product, sales, and marketing. And then we round out our curriculum with fundraising and scaling for the future in an effort to get you to really think beyond the lab and set yourself up for success on that front. Across these 3 segments, we leverage Morgan Stanley content providers from our banking, research, technology, and corporate communications teams, among others, as well as founders and top investors from the startup ecosystem nationwide. Again, here really looking to provide kind of a diversity of perspective as you look to address your company's greatest challenges. Across these sessions, again, in hopes of just giving you as comprehensive of an experience as possible, we look to cover everything from cap table considerations and legal implications to identifying cybersecurity risks. So truly a nice breadth as we try to prepare you for your respective markets as best we know how. In addition to our full cohort curriculum sessions, we do meet with you alongside our entrepreneurs and residents each week during our 1-hour-long EIR meetings. During these meetings, we look to not only understand how your business is doing, what progress is being made, but we also look to understand what challenges you're facing and how we can be helpful. So as part of these one-on-one conversations, we look to provide you with everything from targeted advice based on kind of the breadth of experience our team brings to the table, everything from kind of technology, investment banking, to equity research, to, you know, high levels firm strategy. And so in addition to this advice, we also aim to provide you with targeted operational support if and when it makes sense. Operational support, obviously a very broad term, but you can kind of think of this as assistance in building your pitch decks to go out for those fundraising meetings, help in refining your financial models, as well as kind of more step in where you need help situations, whether it's interviewing candidates for key talent openings, or kind of providing you with feedback on the direction that you're trying to take your product. So broadly, we really are here to help you in any way that we can. Moving on from content to connections, we again do look to support our founders in any way that we can here. From our experience over the past 2 cohorts, we found that we can be most helpful on 2 key fronts, those being corporate introductions and investor introductions. So on the corporate introductions front, we very much leverage Morgan Stanley's deep network of corporate relationships, whether those be on the banking side, wealth management side, the research side, or elsewhere, in order to get you in front of the key decision makers at accounts that you're targeting. Whether you are a B2B company targeting a large enterprise client, or frankly a B2C company that is targeting a select third-party seller, we're truly here to support you and as you look to get closer towards your long-term goals. Similarly, going back to the investor side of the equation, as you do look to scale your businesses, we do very much help you navigate that fundraising process, which we know can be so painful and time-consuming for many that early-stage entrepreneurs. On this front, we work with you to not only develop targeted investor lists, but we also look to make the introductions to those investors where and when we can, really in an effort to get you more shots on goal as you look to close your rounds and get back to running your respective businesses. So while we would certainly love to provide this degree of support to all of you, we unfortunately do have to restrict our cohort size as we very much kind of optimize for impact. So with this in mind, would love to move on to discussing our application. So we will be selecting our 2019 class via, as I mentioned, an application process that will be run through the F-Success platform, one that I believe many of you are likely familiar with. For our 2019 cohort, the application deadline will be January 4th, 2019, which is very much a firm deadline. So with this in mind, we do recommend that you get started on these early in order to avoid any and all technical issues associated with submission. As I mentioned, our application can be referenced via our website, but can also be found directly at www.fsuccess.com/Multicultural Innovation Lab 2019/apply. With that, would love to give you all a bit of additional color on what exactly you're screening for as you begin to pull together your respective applications. So we view our application as the key to understanding, 1, who you are as a founder, 2, what you're building as a business, and 3, the size of the market that you're addressing. In understanding how these 3 variables interact, we are evaluating you based on 7 key criteria. Those being 1, founding team, 2, business model and product, 3, market and competition, 4, company traction, 5, financials and fundraising, 6, potential for exit opportunities, and 7, and arguably most importantly, the ability for Morgan Stanley to be helpful to your company. Using questions within our application that ask you to describe your relevant experience, the market that your company is addressing, the technology that you're leveraging to serve your customers, kind of among other details, we are really hoping to gain a greater understanding of how you're operating as a business. In addition to the more traditional text-based questions, I would add that we are also asking applications to include both investor and customer references where these are applicable, as we kind of seek to do diligence on our end to better understand kind of the extent to which you have built out your platforms and kind of the traction that you've seen. Following up with these individuals later in the process is very helpful for us. And it minimizes our need to kind of come back to you and ask you for these contacts. In addition to those contacts, we are also asking you for your latest investor presentation in whatever format that might be, your cap table, as well as your financial statements. Again, just simply trying to get as well-rounded of a perspective as possible on your business. And so in hopes of identifying another top-notch class as we head into 2019, thus far of our past 2 cohorts, I would add that we've had numerous successful fundraising rounds, as well as 2 exits to date, which has been really exciting for us as we continue to reach scale. We are looking to pull together what we feel like is a very comprehensive application, again, to minimize our need to come back to you for additional materials. So while at first glance, you might see what appears to be a lot, we are really, trying again to be as founder friendly as possible and kind of making this a one-time application process for you, so there is not as much back and forth. Moving on to how we kind of view our applications and move through this. These applications on our end do move through various stages of review. Every single application is viewed by multiple members of our investment team, as well as members of our investment committee, which includes senior Morgan Stanley stakeholders from across the organization, whether that, again, be research, operations, investment banking, technology, et cetera. Once we have honed in on our finalists for the year, we will finally be bringing in these founders to pitch to our investment committee in person and answer questions as the last step of our investment process. And then from that pool, we will be selecting our 2019 cohort. So we've moved through kind of a general overview of our program as well as the application process fairly quickly. But I hope that this does give you a greater understanding of really what we're working on here within Morgan Stanley's Multicultural Innovation Lab. So in kind of moving on to the next phase of today's discussion, we did want to address a few of the key questions that have been submitted both prior to this call and over the course of this call. And I would note that in selecting these questions specifically, we did want to highlight those that we perhaps did not answer earlier on in our prepared remarks, as well as to highlight questions that we do think are particularly relevant for the group as a whole. The last thing that I would add is that if your question is not answered on the call, there is certainly a high likelihood that it's answered on our website, which again is www.morganstanley.com/MCIL. And you can also certainly reach out to us at our group email, which is mcil@morganstanley.com. So with that, let's get your questions answered. Let's see what we got. I guess the first question that I know a number of people were inquiring about was, are there opportunities for women that are not classified as multicultural to apply to the program? And the answer here is certainly yes. We welcome all applications from either women or multicultural founders or founders that do classify themselves as both. Again, we are agnostic as to which category you fall in. What we are really trying to do is serve what we, again, view to be an under-resourced or an under-invested demographic set, and looking to kind of round out as diverse of a class as possible, which, again, we feel will provide superior returns to our fund over the long run. Next question is, how can I get more involved in the program, and what mentorship opportunities exist as part of the process? So with respect to getting more involved, as discussed, the best step here is simply to apply via the F-Success platform. We do make investments on an annual cohort basis, and so as applications opened a little over 2 weeks ago and will be open through January 4th, this is the only time of the year that we will be reviewing companies for new investment. We do frequently see companies that will reapply in a subsequent year and ultimately be selected just due to greater traction with their product or due to a variety of variables. But I did want to highlight that this, for the 2019 year, is kind of the window in which we are really screening companies to take on board. Moving on to the topic of mentorship, as I mentioned with our EIR meetings, mentorship is a topic that we feel is very important and that we do take very seriously. We have a dedicated team on staff here, made up of, again, Morgan Stanley employees with experience across the organization and experience navigating the organization, as well as entrepreneurs and residents that we've brought in from more traditional venture backgrounds to provide you with as broad a perspective as possible. As a group, we are meeting with you weekly to see how we can be helpful. And then to supplement these weekly meetings, we also make introductions to your investment banking coverage bankers who can speak to you in a slightly more industry-specific manner and provide strategic introductions as needed. And we also set up meetings with your equity research coverage. And so you think about yourself as kind of an internet company. We would have Brian Nowak, for example, who covers Snapchat for us, perhaps sit down with you, or a similar person, depending on the structure of your business, the direction that we see it headed. We do really want to give you access to any and all of the firm's resources, which are quite vast. So we do kind of look to pair you up with mentors along the way. The last mentor aspect that we do bake into our program in a kind of more formal, structured way is the assignment of your senior mentor, who is a high-level manager at Morgan Stanley, typically a managing director running a team of hundreds or thousands of employees, who, again, in addition to the help that we provide you with, they will help you kind of navigate not only the firm and the resources available here, but also your target market, your target investor set, et cetera. Moving on to question 3, we had a question asking, curious to learn more about the current batch of founders and how you think about collaboration across cohorts. So if we take a step back and look at our 2018 cohort, which included 9 companies, I guess a few stats that are perhaps helpful, though not necessarily indicative of our 2019 cohort. Again, we are truly looking to build a diverse class that we feel will provide superior returns over the long run. So really targeting exceptional management teams with really compelling products that are addressing large markets. But looking at the stats specifically, in 2018, 78% of our companies had at least one multicultural co-founder, and 89% of our companies had at least one woman co-founder. As we think about the breakdown of B2B and B2C, we had 33% of our companies selling their products exclusively via B2B channels, though I would note that we had a number of companies that were selling both B2B and B2C products. So a healthy mix there. Furthermore, I guess as we think about the specific subsector breakdown, we had one fintech platform, one consumer healthcare platform, one energy software platform, as I mentioned, one beauty marketplace, one enterprise software development platform, 2 entertainment tech marketplaces, 1 social media enabled e-commerce platform, and then 1 social impact networking platform. So I outlined these categories to highlight the breadth of our program, but again, they are not necessarily indicative of what the class will look like for 2019. You are able, however, to find out additional information on the companies from our 2018 cohort on our website. We have company vignettes highlighting a lot of what they're working on, so would recommend that you check those out if you're interested in learning more about what they're building, kind of their general stage, and what role Morgan Stanley has played in their growth. We had another question come in asking, what are the growth opportunities within Morgan Stanley? So I think that there are kind of 2 key themes I would love to highlight on this front. One is the fact that after you finish our program, you really do remain forever a part of the lab, and we are committed to supporting you whenever and wherever we can. Looking at our 2017 cohort companies, for example, we are in regular communication with all of our founders when we can be helpful in the fundraising process or with the strategic introductions process, with the hiring process, we certainly are. And as we think about kind of growth opportunities within Morgan Stanley, as a buyer ecosystem, I did want to highlight my second point, which is our focus on getting you situated to succeed in your enterprise sales process. So Morgan Stanley has a very robust supplier diversity program, and it's a platform that gets a lot of emphasis from the firm as we look to bring on new vendors if and when they make sense. We do everything that we can to help you navigate this process and sell into kind of Morgan Stanley as a customer, again, in situations where we feel that there's a fit. For context, out of the 9 companies in our most recent cohort, of which, again, as I mentioned, 33% of them sold their products exclusively via B2B channels, we did have 2 companies launch pilots within Morgan Stanley, both kind of getting strong reception from our employee base. So that, I guess, is kind of what I would flag on that front. I guess moving on, we did have a question coming in saying, what are the dates of the program? As I mentioned, the key date here is January 4th, which is our application deadline. Given kind of the breadth of applications that we've seen come in thus far and that we expect to kind of roll in over the next several weeks, we will kind of likely take a couple months to kind of review those, move through our investment process, and identify our 2019 cohort. I think that as kind of a high level perspective here, I would note that the program will run from kind of Q2 through early Q4, let's say. The program does culminate in a demo day where, again, we are looking to just get you more shots on goal and bringing in as many investors as possible to hear you pitch your companies on stage, as well as meet with these investors in a one-on-one format. So while the program does conclude with our demo day, we do kind of, as I mentioned, provide you with office space through the end of the year. And so that is kind of what I would say as it relates to the dates of the program. Aside from that, I think that those are all of the questions that I have seen come in thus far. So with that in mind, did want to, again, refer you to our website, www.morganstanley.com/MCIL, where, again, you can find a link to the F6S site, which will allow you to apply ahead of the January 4th deadline. I think that is all that I have at this point. So Hannah, I will turn things back to you. Hannah, I'm not sure if you're breaking up. Just wanted to see if you heard me or if we want to kick off introductions across the call. So we have a little bit of color on who all is dialed in. I think there might be a little bit of trouble in hearing you, Hannah. So do want to kind of generally pass it over to the founders on the call. Would love to hear a little bit about, one, kind of what you're building, and two, where you're based. I guess the one aspect that I did not touch upon is the fact that we do accept applications from founders worldwide. Though, as I mentioned, our program from a curriculum perspective is run out of our New York offices. So do any of the founders kind of want to kick it off with introductions?
I can start. Hi everyone. My name is Monica. Thank you so much for being on the call here. And you know, there was so much information. It's a lot to take in, and I've looked over the application, and I'm really excited about this cohort and to see if we get accepted. And I think, you know, what Morgan Stanley is doing is amazing. And just to tell you a little bit about what we're doing, we are in the travel space. We're basically democratizing the tour guide industry by allowing crowdsourced digital itineraries to be sold from people who actually are locals to travelers. So it's, some people have dubbed us like the child of Instagram and TripAdvisor, where you get to share your local space or, you know, the travels that you've gone on, and get to create digital itineraries out of those posts or out of those information, so that other travelers who are coming to your town or going to the places that you visited can actually get a feel of the space the way you experienced it, to really allow an authentic experience when they're traveling. So that's what we're doing. You know, our business model is sort of clear in that sense that, you know, locals make the itineraries, they make money. Travelers get to really get locally sourced information and cheap way to see a local city. We are global. We've been featured in multiple publications. We are focused in Southeast Asia, even though we're global. Our little bit of seed funding that we've gotten, pre-seed funding, we've focused that amount on Southeast Asia because the need is massive there, because of all the languages and the infrastructure that's growing. I know I'm talking a lot, so I'm going to give away to the next founder, but we're called Glide, Glyd, Go Live Your Dream. And we are hoping to be, you know, helpful to all travelers and helping locals, empowering them to dream bigger.
Amazing. Thank you, Monica. We look forward to reviewing your application.
Thank you.
I can go. Hi, my name is Jennifer Simons. Thank you so much for hopping on this call and explaining this program to us, Meera. So I started DressMate, which is a community-based marketplace for women to list, discover, and rent unique clothing. We connect women Airbnb style and pre-existing communities like college campuses and offices to rent out their closets to one another. So I started 2.5 years ago at Georgetown University, where I just graduated from this year, and beta tested our platform at Glossy HQ, and we're scaling to 10 college campuses in New York and DC this year.
Very exciting. Thank you for sharing. I'll go next. My name is Kaitlin, and I have a startup called Her Story, and we educate and empower women to know their cancer risks so that they can advocate for quality healthcare. And we're in the super early stages. I just joined an accelerator here in Portland. We're located on the West Coast, but our dream and vision is to be international, and basically offering services of having an advocate for each woman so that she can be navigated through the healthcare system, and bringing this information to women so that they can receive the appropriate healthcare that they need. That's very exciting. Thank you again for sharing.
Daryl or Irene, would you like to go introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, this is Irene. Together with my co-founder Diana, we run the Monarch Incubator, which is an early stage incubator for women-led companies. A bunch of our companies are on the call, and we've actually had, I think, some graduates interview with you. So I figured we should chat and see if there's some of our founders who graduate makes sense to pass from us to you.
That sounds amazing. I'm thankful that you all were able to dial in, and we look forward to continuing the conversation.
Hi, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we can.
Oh, okay, hi. I'm Adara Davis, co-founder of Fair, which is a client-oriented direct booking ride-hail marketplace app. So basically, we give you a tailored response to what matters most to you as a rider. So you let us know if you're time, money, or car type sensitive, and we provide that information personalized to you in a very efficient and seamless manner. Have a few partnerships in the pipeline coming up in Q1 and Q2. And thank you for taking the time to let us know about this program. I actually know someone who went through one of your cohorts, and she's the one who reminded me and as well. So thanks. That's about it.
Awesome. And I'm nice to meet you.
A Monarch graduate as well. Hi, Irene.
Love it.
Okay, I think that was everyone.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you all for dialing in. And if you do have any follow-up questions, feel free to refer to our website or to shoot us an email. But we look forward to reviewing your applications as we build out an awesome class for 2019.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Hope everyone has a great rest of their day.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Have a
Bye,
great day.
everyone.
Bye.